Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Thursday. It's 7 o'clock. That means it's time for Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thanks to everybody who's joining us. While you're here, don't forget, click like, click subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, tell your neighbors, tell everybody. Tell everybody about the show. It'd be doing us a big favor. Really appreciate everybody that's hopping on here and joining us tonight. We got a good show planned. We got an interesting game to discuss from over the weekend against Houston Texans. One of the more weird, strange games that I can recall in recent Chiefs history. And then we'll look ahead to the game against the Seattle Seahawks. Frigid, cold temperature game coming up here at Arrowhead on Sunday. We'll talk some Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk Chiefs playoff. We'll run down the playoff picture, give you an update there. Fellas, how are we doing this evening? Nick?
I'm doing good, man. I just logged off earlier today for the last work day of the year for me, so I'm enjoying life right now. How about you, Bo?
Nice.
I'm doing good. Just went snowboarding yesterday up here in Colorado. Couldn't be enjoying life anymore right now.
Nice. How's
how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How's the snowboarding conditions up there? Good right now? Snow's good?
You know, there hasn't been too much snow up here, so it's a little crunchy, but anytime you get to go up on the mountain, I'm not complaining. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just, thinking about this game here a lot since Sunday, and had an extra day to digest here since we didn't go last night, but we're back here live tonight. Like I said, we got a good show put together for you. So let's just crack into that Houston Texans game. 30-24 win on the road, full of twists and turns and good play, bad officiating, overtime, walk-off win. There's a lot of stuff happened in that game, a lot of things to talk about. So before we get into kind of details and player performances, Nick, what was your overall thoughts of the game Sunday?
When you look at the box score of that game and then you see the actual score, those just two things don't match up at all. So it's kind of like, you're like, what the hell happened? And so that was kind of my takeaway, was that the Chiefs really outplayed the Texans for most of the game. I mean, the Chiefs had like 500 yards of offense, and then there's really just a couple of plays that, we can talk about the referees. I'm sure we're going to talk about everybody's favorite referee, Carl Sheffers, and his crew. But it's really just a couple of miscues by the offense that caused turnovers, and then a couple of bad plays by the defense, and then all of a sudden you're going to overtime with the one-win Texans. So, I mean, that's just kind of my takeaway. It was just kind of a weird, freaky game to have happen. Mahomes, you can't say like enough about what that dude did during that game after having a 3-interception week the week before. But yeah, those are my big takeaways.
Yeah, you look at the box score, definitely betrayed the outcome of that game. And I heard some people talking about it that saw the box score and then went back and watched the game later and were really like puzzled at how it was a close game. But Bo, what were you thinking about that game as you were watching it Sunday?
My takeaway from the whole game was like the Texans, even though they only have one win, they're a good football team, like regardless, right? Like they might have only have one win, but they have been playing the better teams really well. I mean, they were up against the Eagles, almost got their number. Same thing with the Cowboys. They're doing it with us. So I was just happy that our guys found a way to win these games out. It felt trap gamey to me as soon as we got in there, man. Like, I don't know, like it just felt like our players were off. They weren't really focused. And then, like, as you mentioned, the officiating was just so frustrating that entire game. It seemed like every play there was a flag. I was more astonished at how many flags they picked up, because there was just another sign that they wanted to call more ticky-tacky fouls that probably weren't there. But no, I was just my takeaway is that team's good, and I'm glad that we found a way to get that win, because those are the games that like you just can't afford to drop, especially when we're in the driver's seat going into the playoffs. It was huge to squeak out a victory there, even though it should have been better than that.
Yeah, scratching out and clawing back and getting that win. It's not always gonna be pretty, and to me it kind of felt like the Denver game the week before, minus the 27-0 lead to jump out to start there. Back and forth. I watched the New Heights episode this week, and Travis Kelce was talking about how, man, that team fights, man. He goes, that Houston Texans team fights. And you saw it. Maybe we should have saw this coming. Maybe we should have expected it a little bit more, because they've played a lot of good teams tough this year. They played the Eagles close. They played the Cowboys, almost beat them, played them hard, played them close the week before. Two of the better teams in the NFC. So, yeah, definitely maybe, if the box score was misleading on that game, the Texans' record is definitely misleading for that football team. If they get a quarterback and they get Dameon Pierce didn't play, their standout rookie running back, he was out with injury. They had a lot of guys out. Houston did. So if they're picking at the top of the draft and they get themselves a solid QB, that could be a team that you'd be looking at and could definitely be a team that's trending upwards, especially for next year. If they're probably gonna get the first pick in the draft at this point, I would think, with only having one win. I'm trying to think of any other teams down there. I think the only other team that has down there with them would be the Broncos at like 3 or 4 wins, right?
Right.
And the Broncos won this last week, so that didn't help them there. Although I guess they don't have that draft pick anyway, so that pick's going to go to Seattle Seahawks, this week's opponent, which we'll break down and talk about here later in the show. But looks like we got a bunch of people in the comments. Got our friend Laney, Brenda, Carol. Looks like we got Brianna in here saying hello to Bo. Looks like Brianna might be new. I don't recognize Brianna. Welcome to CKL. Appreciate you jumping on. If you haven't clicked like already, if you're in the comments, do that now. It really helps us out a lot. Send us a question, join in the conversation. It makes it a lot more fun for the three of us, for sure. So we'll break down the game in more detail. Let's just get the refereeing out of the way so I can get my blood pressure down for the rest of the show. You look at you're talking about box score. Like, you look at it, the Texans had like 208 yards of offense, and they had 110 yards in penalties against the Chiefs. That was really the difference. That kept Houston. That and a couple of bad turnovers at bad times.
Right, the turnovers. Yeah.
But they had one drive there where I want to say they had 2 stops on the Chiefs. Got 2 stops on 3rd down on defense, and they gave them first downs by penalty. And when you watch the replay, it was a soft pass interference call on L'Jarius Sneed, who is a player that you'd be hoping at this point in his career he'd be getting a little bit more respect and a little bit more benefit of the doubt on these calls. He's emerging as one of the better corners, definitely in the AFC, if not in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And then the other one there at the goal line, the Texans wide receiver just runs over Juan Thornhill, and they call illegal contact on Juan Thornhill. What's he supposed to do? So they had another drive that I want to say led to a touchdown earlier that had another 3rd down stop negated by penalty. That penalty, I guess you could say, yeah, that was more of a penalty. But you had, I'm trying to remember, was it Pacheco or was it McKinnon that had his helmet ripped off by the face mask?
Pacheco, yeah.
That was down by the goal line that we ended up kicking a field goal there. You'd like to think if you get that call and you get the ball down at the 2 or the 3 yard line and a fresh set of downs, Chiefs punch it in for 7 there. There was a play where Patrick Mahomes, basically, a dude came down and punched him right in the face through the eye opening on his face mask. There was another play where by Houston defender where Travis Kelce makes a catch. He's trying to get up off the ground, and the defender is literally shoving him down, holding him on the ground. Kelce gets up and chest bumps him, and they call unnecessary roughness on Travis Kelce, 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, fascinating, right?
Bro, Nick brought this to my attention, and I put it out on our Twitter at Chiefs Kingdom Live. Give us a follow there if you're not already. Dude, this Carl Cheffers thing, It goes back to the playoff game against the Steelers, where he got suckered into a bad holding call by James Harrison on a 2-point conversion that the Chiefs got and then had to redo and then didn't convert on. That basically led to them losing that game. After the game in the locker room, Travis Kelce had some choice words for Carl Cheffers, saying that he shouldn't be allowed to ref a game, he shouldn't be allowed to wear the zebra stripes, and he shouldn't even be allowed to work at a Foot Locker. Do you guys think is that guy holding a grudge against the Chiefs, Nick?
Yeah, maybe even he doesn't think he is. It's obvious that he is, though. I mean, we've had 2 games with 10 penalties this year. It's the most all year. We're the 3rd least penalized team in the league. And the 2 games where we had 10 penalties were both ref by his crew. So either we play a style of football that he doesn't like, or he doesn't like our team. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because it's not like he throws 100 flags on everybody, right? Like
right.
only had 3 penalties accepted, I believe. And like Doug brings up a point here. So, sports betting is now playing a part in all these bad calls. And even if it's not, it appears, that's Brenda's comment. Sorry, here's Big Doug's comment. A lot of dirty hits, ref are aware, the point spread, with all the gambling now, like the perception is that they're keeping the games closer, even if they're not. So it's really a bad look for the league in general. And it's bad when we sit there and we go, oh, we got Carl Cheffers, look for some bullshit this week. And then Brenda already said it in the comments, guess who's reffing the game this weekend? Cleet Blakeman, right? Like, we shouldn't know these guys' names at all. They're supposed to be, like, a good ref is invisible, right? Pops up when something bad happens, gets everything right, make sure that the trains run on time otherwise, and then, otherwise they're just, you shouldn't even notice that they're there. And so, yeah, I think that there's obviously some bias. I mean, you have proof, right? And when you look at how we get refed in other people, so there's some kind of bias towards the Chiefs, whether he doesn't like the team, he's holding a grudge against Travis Kelce, he's, doesn't like the style of play. There's obviously something there. It's indisputable at this point.
No, right. A lot of people think it's like theory, right? Like, oh, whatever. It's just a theory that this guy is calling against you. But when the numbers back it up that he calls against your team more than any other team, proof is in the pudding right there. I agree with Nick wholeheartedly. This year, it's been frustrating this year, just not only for Chiefs games, but like I feel like refs have been directly affecting the outcomes of games more and more, whether it's just egregious missed calls or just bad calls in general, like the Thornhill illegal contact one. That one blew my mind. A defender is allowed to hold his position and stay there, and the receiver just ran into him and arguably just gave them that whole drive, just on penalties essentially. And they scored and they gave them points. And directly, luckily the Chiefs are a good enough team that they can beat whoever they're playing and the refs. But man, there's some teams out there that are struggling beating those refs this year.
Yeah, the Chiefs had over 100 yards in penalties against them. I guess you can't say -2 in the turnover differential because the Texans fumbled there in overtime. They gave us the ball. It was the game winner. But we were still negative. It was still -1 in the turnover differential. Over 100 yards and penalties accepted against us, and you still get the W. That just shows you how good this team is. But another thing, too, that I thought was weird was the play where they call the block on McKinnon, saying that he's blocking back towards the line of scrimmage, and then they're like trying to say that it's, well, even if you're parallel to the line of scrimmage, it's still a penalty. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to review forward progress now. Oh, gee, that would have been nice in the Tennessee Titans playoff game 5 or 6 years ago where Derek Johnson absolutely demolished Marcus Mariota. The ball comes loose. The Chiefs pick it up, and they say, oh, no, his forward progress had stopped you. He's standing in the pocket. It feels like it's snowballed to this point, and I just can't – I want to believe that referees are unbiased and that a referee wouldn't let comments from an angry player in a locker room 6-7 years ago affect their – but there's a large enough sample size. It's like it's been one game where the guy hosed us.
Yeah,
Someone had out there on Twitter that over the last 3 or 4 seasons since that playoff game when he's had a normal amount of penalties called as opposed to penalties called in other games. So definitely frustrating. I was blowing my gasket a little bit there watching the game Sunday with you just feel like the referees are keeping the other team in the game. And even when you do, the defense is struggling, but you get a stop on third down and, here you go. First down on a penalty, another third down stop. Another first down. Just give them the touchdown. Just give them the points and don't let them bleed all the time off the clock. But I hate whining and complaining about referees. You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't be able to tell it from how often I do it, but I really don't like talking about it.
It's just one thing if we were complaining about them like costing us a game, but even though we won and it's still this obvious, it's that obviously bad. Like, yeah, it's worth talking about.
I mean, it's so bad now that whenever the Chiefs make a big play, like the McKinnon touchdown run, which we'll get to his performance here in a moment, in overtime, I instantly was like looking at the bottom of the screen where the little flag indicator pops up down next to the score.
Every play.
Every big play the Chiefs have, or every time they get a stop on third down or fourth down, my eyes instantly go to the bottom of the screen looking for the flag, the flag emblem. And it's not just
breakup, right?
Right. It's not just the Chiefs. Was it the Sunday night or the Monday night game where there was a controversial no call in the end zone on a pass interference where the defender had his arms wrapped around the receiver's body from behind?
The Commanders game? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the Commanders game. There you go, Bo. Yeah. People are saying, well, the referees don't want to determine the game. Well, listen, if it's a penalty in the first minute of the game, it's a penalty in the last minute of the game. You're determining the game by not calling an obvious penalty at the end of the game. It's a mess.
Like they try to say, like, we don't want to end the game on a penalty, but, like, when it's that obvious, it's a penalty, right? Like, you're not
bear hugged from behind.
Right. Well, yeah, you got no problem giving the Texans first down after first down after first down in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs. Don't tell me that you have a problem interfering at the end of the game. It's ridiculous. Real quick before we move on to another subject, do you think anything happens? I see more and more like national media people now, not necessarily the broadcast people because they're business partners with the NFL. They can't sit there. Trent Green can't sit there and blast the NFL for all the penalties and the bad calls and the missed calls. But more and more I'm seeing the talking heads, the so-called experts, national media, NFL sports talk shows. People have a lot more pull than you or I or Nick, the three of us have on Twitter, bitching at NFL officiating. Which,
I have 9 followers, okay?
9 followers. So do you think the referee thing, do you think they address it? Do you think they go to full-time positions at some point, maybe like this offseason or the next couple of seasons? Or do you think it's just going to stay like this? Bo?
Yeah, man, there seems to be a cry for it, right? Like on shows like the Pat McAfee show and stuff like that, where they really kind of deep dive and kind of get into the nuances of like why the NFL refs kind of are the way they are, like talking about how it's not a full-time position. These guys have other jobs. So it's just like there needs to be a restructuring around just the idea of like refs getting paid and having that be their job. So there's like trying to get rid of all the undue bias. But yeah, I do think there is like this clamoring on the internet for some kind of restructuring or something. Like we've talked about it. Like I've talked about like some kind of system where you have like an independent council of guys reviewing the plays that are a little bit more tech savvy than the guys who are on the officiating system now that could get it done efficiently, and just have like some kind of conglomerate idea of like if there was an actual foul on that play, and then you could buzz the ref down or something. I don't know. It seems easier than what's going on. Like these guys saying they can't review certain plays, just missing obvious calls. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of it on the internet, like a lot of a call for change, if not like restructuring of officiating a little bit. Right. What about you, Nick?
So 2 things. I just despise the part-time job thing because I just Googled it to make sure they're estimated to make on average $205,000 per year as an NFL referee.
As a part-time job.
So like I'll take that part-time job and then I will be really, really fucking good at it because dude, that's insane to make, that kind of money and you only work part of the year. So the other thing is until people can complain, but they're still watching. So until it actually impacts them financially, there's not really a lot of reason to do anything about it, right? So unless they say, hey, people are quitting, like they're stopping bets, because we've seen a dip because they think that these games are rigged somehow for the money line, or they see a dip in viewership. I really don't think they're going to change. I think it's been a problem for a long time. And you do see these just terrible calls. I mean, the Raiders got a touchdown where it was obvious that it wasn't a touchdown. You can see his foot on the line, right? Now, you could argue, I think that may be what you're talking about from Pat McAfee show. You can argue that maybe on the next play, Devontae Adams scores a touchdown, but you'll never know because they reviewed it and they said it was still a touchdown, even though it's obvious that his foot's on the line. Yeah. And there's just these calls that seem to pop up every week. And I know that, maybe a tired subject for you guys because you've heard me talk about it before, but if you watch like rugby, if you watch those tournaments, was it Six Nations tournament? They actually, you can hear what the referees are saying when they're talking to each other. When they review, you hear what the review guys.
Could you imagine?
Field. And so there's no like black box, right? And so I think that what the NFL tries to do is they try to protect the referees by not criticizing them. But anytime you don't openly criticize things that everybody can see is bad, all you do is you just look like you either are incompetent, don't care, or you're doing it on purpose. So you don't leave a lot of good options there. So I really don't think we're going to see massive improvement. I don't think they're ever going to be saying openly, I know Carol said, why don't they fine referees? I don't know if they do. That's the thing. They might, right? They might get with him afterwards and say, hey, we looked at this, we missed these calls and these calls. The Houston players are actually playing pretty dirty. You were really throwing flags against the Chiefs, where you called a illegal contact when the guy obviously was offensive pass interference where he blocked the dude downfield. I mean, it just, I don't know. I just don't really have a lot of hope, and it's not the time of year to say that I don't have a lot of hope, but that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah. And the gambling aspect of it too, Big Doug, and I've seen a couple of people bring it up, and Nick, you talked about it there. Now that all these states are passing these sports gambling laws and you can gamble like here I live in Missouri, but right over in Kansas, sports betting is legal now. All these other states, Iowa, a bunch of other states have jumped on that bandwagon. You've seen more one-score games this season than in any number of years here in the last decade. So, I might be considered a conspiracy theorist by some people, but makes you wonder. That's all I'm going to say. But let's move on from bitching about the referees.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes in this game. The dude was, out of this world. Brenda had a comment I saw a little bit ago about she knew he was going to have a good game. If you watched our preview show, our episode from last week, we kind of talked about players of the game, and I took the easy route, but I just knew Patrick was going to come back after the 3-interception game against Denver Broncos. Just knew he was going to have a big game, and did he ever? That guy is playing at a level. Every time you think the guy can't get any better, or you think, there can't be any records left that he hasn't broken, he rises up.
Dude,
he was so dialed in that game. And you look at his numbers, he had 340 yards. Oh, there it is right there at the bottom of the screen, 336 yards. He had 50 or 60 or 70 yards at least in dropped passes.
Yeah,
easily.
The guy had like 5 incomplete passes. 3 of those were drops. He could have easily been like 39 or 40 of 41 for 400 something yards.
Insane.
Yeah. 20 straight completions or something like that. Just lights out, dude.
Did you hear during the broadcast when Kevin Harlan, I think it was like 17 or 18 straight completions. He goes, and that's Patrick Mahomes' 18th straight completion. And Trent Green, this was a complete moment you could tell it was genuine surprise by Trent Green. He said, how many? Even Trent Green was like caught off guard by Patrick Mahomes completing 18 straight or 17 straight passes there at the end of the game in crunch time when it counts the most. There's this MVP talk, and we'll get to that here in a second. But man, the guy, there's nobody in the league that's as good as that guy. Nick,
not as consistently.
Nick, what stood out to you about Patrick Mahomes' performance against Houston Texans?
Just the dude he was on. All of his passes were just dead on. He's finding the right guy. He's making the right decisions. He didn't force things. Patient when he needed to be, ran when he needed to. I threw up the running touchdown to him. He just seems like he gets in that zone, and it's unfortunate that it was even as close as it was, because he was just dealing. I mean, there's not enough like superlatives to say about how good that guy is and what he can do on the football field consistently. We're not talking a season or two now. We're talking, 4 or 5 years of straight just domination in every statistical category. Number one, you see all the graphs, all the charts that people put out there. He's the outlier, and it's not even close. I mean, it's just, you just see these dots on these graphs. You see like a line that's just like somebody accidentally drew one like way above everybody else. It's like, oh, that must be Patrick Mahomes, and everybody knows it, right? And so, yeah, it's just amazing, and just such a cool guy, right? So humble about it. He's just, he's just there to win, and he'll do whatever it takes. So hats off to him for bouncing back after that rough game where he also had 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, but also 3 picks. So,
dude, he's one of those quarterbacks, right, that loves to lead by example, and he'll take the game over and get everybody riled up, fired up, and he does it time and time again. I went back and was watching some of our episodes and everything like that. And we're just talking about, what's Mahomes' greatest play so far to date? And we're like talking about all these great plays. And then I'm looking back at this season, and it's just like, man, now he has like 30 of those plays just this season alone. He's just phenomenal. What stood out to me the most was just how effortless he makes stuff look sometimes. His feel for the game and like where players are at is unmatched to any other quarterback. If he had a line that could give him longer than 3 seconds in a pocket, he would, I think, have a perfect game. Like he would have 0 incompletions, or like you would just see all-star Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, like my takeaway was that like that guy can take over a game and lead when he wants to, and not only does he do it, like it rubs off on other players, and you see them kind of like get up and start trying to do the same thing. So that was my takeaway about it.
Yeah, just watching him in that game, it just reinforced everything we've been talking about him on this show. And we're talking about the MVP candidacy, and he had 20 straight completions. I went back and looked up until Jalen Hurts got hurt this week, no pun intended. The guy, he had 7 games. He was like the top competition for the MVP the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he actually took over as betting favorite there for a hot second.
Right.
But he had 7 games this year where he didn't even complete 20 passes total. And Patrick's out here completing 20 straight in the second half of the football game. I mean, it's no disrespect to these other guys. I put out on the Chiefs Twitter account too. It's like every team and every general manager, every team in the NFL would trade their quarterback for Patrick Mahomes in a second.
Yeah.
I don't care. And Bills fans and Bengals fans were jumping in there. Nope, no way. They were doing the picture of Joe Burrow with Patrick Mahomes on his shoulder and was like, oh, no, he's Mahomes' daddy. Dude, Joe Burrow hasn't sniffed the records, the level of accomplishment, the awards. And that's not to, diminish Joe Burrow as a quarterback. He's one of the top 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is having a fantastic season. There's lots of guys that are good, but they're just not as good as Patrick Mahomes. And I know that sounds like total homer show because this is Chiefs Kingdom Live, and I'm wearing a Chiefs shirt, and I've got Patrick Mahomes on the TV back there. But I would be saying this if he played for another team. It's so
right.
obvious
His numbers
that
are so ridiculous.
It is. I mean, it's just so obvious. And you know what? Okay, you want to argue that maybe they wouldn't trade Josh Allen for Joe Burrow, or I'm sorry, for Patrick Mahomes. They wouldn't trade Joe Burrow for Patrick Mahomes. If you cleared every team's roster and drew teams out of a hat to reset the NFL, all 32 teams, whoever's getting that first pick is picking Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yep.
Easily.
Look at this graph right here. So go ahead, Scotty.
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
So you look at this, like over here, we've got, expected points added per, cumulative for the season versus how many plays for this year. Just look at like where Mahomes is versus second place, right? They've got Jalen Hurts here. So like you look at this and it's just that's what you call a statistical outlier, right? And you look, this is for his career. So this is cumulative win probability added on first 4,000 dropbacks, right? So this is how many dropbacks. This is his win probability that he's added by his play. And you just look at like this line and like, look how far above he is literally everybody else. And he hasn't even got
It's like at a 45-degree angle above the next person.
1,000 snaps yet.
No.
So it's just, sorry, I cut out.
No, you're good.
Did I cut out? Everybody froze. So yeah. Yeah, it's you look at these graphs and there you can find, if you go on Twitter, you see one of these charts like every other week where it's like, oh, I did all these numbers, and it's just like, yep, you see all these dudes, and then you see Patrick Mahomes, and it's, I mean, you can't dispute it anymore. All right.
Dude, we talk about it every week too, right? Like he's averaging over 300 yards a game, damn near 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Like that's not a thing in the NFL, right? To do it to have the average over a season be that, like, unreal.
His career average is over 300 yards a game.
Yeah.
There was a stretch earlier this season where he had 6 or 7 straight games with 300 yards passing, and no other quarterback in the NFL had 6 total 300-yard passing games. It's remarkable. It's unbelievable what the dude is doing.
I love it, like when it's on ESPN or NBC and they're discussing the MVP role, and they'll put up all the statistics side by side. You know, they'll have Josh Allen and they'll throw Herbert up there and Hurts, and they'll put everything, and then Mahomes. It's just like everything, every little thing is just like way better. And they'll like, oh, but look, he has 11 interceptions, and you're like, what? He has 12 more touchdowns than the next quarterback, like 1,000 more passing yards. Like who? Yeah.
The dude, he's unbelievable to watch, and he's just that much better than everybody else. Nick Wright made a good point on his show this week too. I was watching that a little bit, and he goes, "Oh, is it Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen?" And then it was, "Oh, is it Patrick Mahomes or is it Tua Tagovailoa? Oh, is it Patrick Mahomes and is it Jalen Hurts? And oh, is it Patrick Mahomes or is it Joe Burrow?" It's been Patrick Mahomes all year. These guys have a couple hot games and they want to put them in the conversation. What's the common denominator in all of these discussions? It's Patrick Mahomes and insert other quarterback for 2 weeks. The guy's the MVP. He's the most valuable player. Every team in the league, like I said, if you cleared all the NFL rosters and reset the league, every team would pick Patrick Mahomes first overall.
Should I do that in my fantasy league?
You're doing a pickup league like back in the day. Remember when you used to play pickup football at the park and you'd all stand over there and then you'd have 2 team captains and I want him. Everybody's pointing Patrick Mahomes first.
No, everybody makes Mahomes the team captain because you can't pick Patrick Mahomes. It's unfair.
Yeah, that's true. But, yeah, it's good to see we got. Looks like we got our man Hefe KC's back in here. Good to see you again, bro.
Hefe.
John B's in the house. What's up, John? Good to see you, buddy.
What up, John?
His 49ers looking strong, man.
Dude,
we might see a rematch, Super Bowl rematch. I'm down for that, especially after the way that first game went earlier this year. I'm all for that.
I'm way down for that.
But Thanks for hopping in, Hefe, John. Good to see you guys. Other performers from the game.
How about old tired legs, man?
Old tired legs. Yeah, let's talk about tired legs now that we got our man John V.
Perfect timing, right?
Perfect timing, buddy. Life's all about timing.
That guy's having himself some games. Like, man, is he on fire right now? I was watching Locker Room Rant Tuesday and loved it. John's just like, I don't know where the fuck this came from, right? Like, he didn't do this in San Francisco. And I'm just glad he's doing it in KC because, man, is on fire right now. Looking good.
Oh, yeah. And I've got him on my fantasy team, too. I've been stashing him all year. And that's paying dividends as we're going into the playoffs. So, yeah, Jerick McKinnon, the last 3 weeks, 5 touchdowns. Touchdown against the Bengals. Then he had a two touchdown performance against the Broncos last week, and then another 2 touchdown performance against the Houston Texans on Sunday. One was game winner where he called game in the huddle, according to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. That was a funny interview where Patrick said, I was telling him 2 hands on the ball, and he's like, "Screw, I'm about to take this to the house." What you talking about? And he did it. Called game. Jerick McKinnon. This just goes back, and I don't want to hurt myself, patting myself on the back here, and ourselves on the back, I should say. We've been calling for Pacheco McKinnon all season. And
probably 2 seasons now.
Yeah, or at least going into the playoffs last year. I was on the McKinnon bandwagon. Mm-hmm. And then when we got Pacheco, the way he looked in the preseason and a few opportunities early in the year, unfortunate that Clyde had to get hurt. Never like to see injury to any player, especially one of our Chiefs players. But it's just opened the door to that 1-2 combo. And those guys, Pacheco had the fumble again. That's a little bit concerning because that's the second in 3 or 4 games here. He kind of got a little bit of a message, though. I mean, you saw Indy break from the norm and benched him for a couple series, and he didn't see the field for the rest of that half. But Jerick McKinnon, Nick, what are you seeing from him? This dude's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's getting 8-9 receptions. Outscored Christian McCaffrey in the fantasy playoffs last week. Was back-to-back RB1 in fantasy. The last 2. Right. I mean, McKinnon, what are you seeing from him?
Have you ever seen that movie Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe, where he's the boxer?
Yeah.
So it's a really, really good movie. It's one of my favorite sports movies, actually. It's a true story, but there's a boxer. He's lost a bunch of fights, loses his license, is poor during the Depression, comes back, gets a chance at one more fight just because somebody's pulled out, beats him, ends up going on and taking on the heavyweight champion. And it's a really, really good story, but they're interviewing him and they're saying, like, what's changed? And he's like, like a lot of those fights I was fighting injured, and I'm wondering if it's just McKinnon, he had some injury problems and maybe his body's just finally back to snuff. I mean, maybe this is just what he's like when he's healthy, and he's been hurt. So maybe he hasn't taken some of the beatings. I know he's, right up around 30 years old. So that's kind of when the running back shelf is. But I think that, you see a guy that's just making the most of his opportunities while he has them, that is healthy, and give some credit to our offensive line and their run blocking. Their run blocking has been phenomenal. It's one of the top graded in the league. And some of these runs these guys are getting, they're getting several yards downfield before anybody's ever even touching them. So, I mean, that touchdown was a well-blocked, well-executed play all the way down the field, and he scored. So I think that's just, you're seeing some dividends from our offensive line that we've invested in. So yeah, credit to McKinnon, man. Sorry, John V, but I'm really happy that it didn't work out for him in San Francisco because he's killing it for us.
Right, Bo, what are you seeing out of Jerick McKinnon?
Just that 1-2 punch that we're talking about with him and Pacheco is finally something the Chiefs can lean on as far as a run game, right? And actually have it be somewhat productive. I think between both those guys, they're getting 5 or 6 yards, maybe a little bit more a carry. So when you have that going for you, you know what I mean? It opens up your entire playbook when you have defenses worrying about the run game. So I've been loving that, and I love watching the Texans tried to figure that out. They tried blitzing, they tried spying, they tried doing everything. And just going back to Mahomes, man, like that guy knows how to read a defense so well. He knows where to put it. And, typically when defenses blitz, you hit the flat route, and it's to McKinnon. And man, that guy just put on the wheels these past couple of weeks and just been nailing that route. Just overall, you can put him anywhere. He's doing well for us. I'm really enjoying him. Same with Nick. Sorry, John V. Like, love him on our team. Suck that he didn't do well for you, but
Tom brings up a good point about his efficiency in the screen game and the passing game. He's a hell of a blocker too. I know Pacheco missed a block earlier in the Texans game that led to a stalled series there. I want to say it was in the first quarter. The guy, he's solidified himself as a third down back. You saw that even with Clyde Edwards-Helaire when he was still healthy. McKinnon was in there on passing downs, obvious passing downs. But, I just catching the ball in the backfield, running, breaking, making moves, getting yards, turning the play where, I hate to say it, but Clyde gets stuffed at the line for a 1 yard loss or a 1 yard. McKinnon's doing spin moves and getting getting 2-3 yards. He's avoiding the negative plays. That was a hell of a touchdown, that screen that he caught there in the first half, McKinnon.
Yeah.
Where he caught out there in the flat and did he jet it to the sideline and cut up the sideline? That was not an easy play. There was a defender or two that had an angle on him, and he still was able to get into the end zone.
Yeah.
That development late in the season of the running game with Pacheco and McKinnon is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, so big.
It's another thing that defenses have to worry about. Oh, and by the way, we're getting Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman back. There's just so many weapons on this offense now that teams have to account for. Clyde.
So good to hear that. Can you say that again? We're getting Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman back.
Yeah. Oh, you got to worry about Pacheco and McKinnon now. Oh, yeah, and McCole Hardman has missed the last 4 or 5 games, who you could argue has been our second best receiver on the team. What up, John C? Good to see you, man. I promised I'm going to get you your Travis Kelce prize pack mailed out, dude. I'm a slacker, all right? I'm sorry, man. That's all I can do, too. I'll throw a little bit. I got a couple extra goodies, though, that I'm going to throw in there for you, John. I'm going to make it worth the wait. I promise, buddy.
It's all on this guy.
Totally on me. I'm like the Patrick Mahomes here, man, of CKL. I'm going to take the blame. It's my fault. But like I said, it's going to be worth the wait because I got a couple extra goodies I picked up I'm going to throw in there for you. So let's talk about Travis Kelce. Another standout performance from that dude. He doesn't find the end zone, but 10 catches.
How about
10 catches, 105 yards. It's like the guy could do it in his sleep.
Dude, that play where Mahomes scrambled out to the right and threw it back all the way across the field to Kelce, and it was like kind of up in front of him, and he jumped up and grabbed it and took a hit. I was just like, all right, he's going to have himself a game today, right? Like, or even that first play where you're talking about the unnecessary roughness call when he caught it, got up, and the guy's getting in his face. I love it when people get in his face because it lights that dude's fire, and you could just see how aggressive he starts playing and starts – chipping back at him and everything. Like, oh, I love it when Kelce's fired up, and just I don't understand why teams would try to get under his skin and try to do that to him. And I understand, like, you can like try to psych out an opponent essentially, but not that guy. That guy lives for that.
Yeah, and it's just when he gets in the open field, man. Hey, he's got that like smooth quickness. It doesn't look that fast, but he's fast.
Dude, I was talking about Patrick Mahomes' feel for the game. That dude has the same feel, right? Like, he just seems to know where everybody's at, and like not only that, like which direction like the defenders are moving, and he has this unexplainable ability to just go the exact opposite way that the play's kind of moving, and he just beats everybody. It's fascinating. Brenda up here putting that he got his 99 on Madden. Congrats to Mr. Kelce, joining the 99 club.
Yeah, third time I believe.
yeah.
Third time for Travis in the 99 club. Bro, put him in the 100 club already. What the fuck?
Put him and Mahomes as hundreds, right?
Put him in the 100 club, man. The guys, they are just balling. They are balling. There was a play where I can't remember what part of the game it was, but Patrick kind of dumped it off to Travis 3 or 4 yards downfield. Travis catches it. He has 2 defenders within a yard or 2 of them, and he just kind of spins around and runs around one of them, and it's like a 7-yard gain for a first down. And 8 out of 10 guys in the league, 9 out of 10 guys in the league catch that pass, and it's a 3 or 4 yard dump off gain. Travis, nope, 10 yards first down. Yeah. He's been struggling to find the end zone here the last few weeks.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you guys, are you guys concerned he hasn't scored in like 3-4 games now? And he was having, 4 touchdown games.
Yeah, he set his career record for touchdowns. I just feel like some of these plays where McKinnon is scoring and some of these other guys are getting into the end zone, I think that's a byproduct of Travis being so effective in the red zone and scoring so many of those touchdowns earlier in the season. He's drawing a lot of attention, maybe leaving space for other guys. There was a couple of times though where the Chiefs were down at the goal line in this Houston game, and he wasn't he was on the sideline, and they're at the 4-yard line and the 6-yard line, 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, or he comes out 2nd goal and 3rd and goal. I don't know. Maybe give him a breather. Maybe he's too hot, right? He's getting too much attention, so they're trying some different things. They've been struggling in the red zone a little bit. The offense has. It started in that Rams game, and we kind of put it as, they were at 77%. They're fine. That's turned into a bit of an issue the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks with this team red zone touchdown efficiency. But, I'm not too worried. He's going to find his way back into the end zone. I just, the guy wasn't going to score 60 touchdowns this year. That's just not realistic. He was on pace for like.
Wanted him to.
I mean, I want him to too. Hey, I got him on fantasy with McKinnon, so yeah, I'd like for him too. But Nick, what were you seeing out of Travis Sunday?
Yeah, he was playing pissed off, right? We saw, Tom asking the question, how did he get a penalty when he got pushed down and put in a headlock? They always see the second guy. That's all I'm going to say, right? I mean, it's always the first guy that responds, but it's just that ref crew. He's probably not getting any love from that ref crew, right? That dude probably looks at him as a hothead. I don't know. It's just. But besides that, he still had a good game. I don't think he got 100 yards, but he was. He was what? Probably. I think last I heard he had 80 yards.
Who, Travis?
Yeah.
He had 105.
Yeah, he had 10 catches, 105 yards.
He did get 105. Okay, so yeah, he's had a 100-yard game. I mean, the touchdowns and having him on the sideline, I agree with the chat here where I just think that they're trying out some different things and then also probably saving him up for the postseason. He's not a spring chicken anymore.
No.
On his podcast a few weeks back, he was talking about how he switched from being a quarterback to a tight end, and he's had 10 surgeries since, and so that dude's got a lot of miles, right? Even though he's still playing at a super high level, he's definitely a person that we want to make sure isn't overused going into the postseason, because that's when we're really going to need him. So
I can't help it.
He's a dog. Yep, go ahead.
So I can't help but feel like at some point Andy Reid and Bieniemy and the whole coaching staff start to dial it back a bit, especially since we secured our playoff spot, right? Like Scott was talking about Kelsey coming up on the sidelines. I think it kind of behooves them to not put out as much tape as possible with your star players. And I think that's kind of what we were seeing with Travis as we're going late into the season. Like there was one play, it was like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and it was a must get. And they did like one of their trick plays. It's like, oh man, this is one of those playoff plays where Mahomes is sitting there kind of like talking to somebody, and Travis is running across, goes under center, and they give it to him, right? And so I was just like, okay, they're trying to pull the rabbits out of their hat a little bit. So
yeah,
I don't know. Do you guys think that they intentionally not play some of their key players so that other teams don't know how to plan for them?
Well, I definitely believe that they are trying to get guys as much rest at this point in the season as they can. It's a long season. Everybody's got something going on right now by this point in the year. So yeah, there could be some to that. Although I will say, I did hear Travis Kelce when he was talking to his brother on their show. He was like, man, it's just so hard right now because your entire playbook is on tape now. Like everybody's seen everything.
Right.
And that could be posturing too, though. He could be playing 4D chess and saying that on his show so that people think that they don't have something saved up. I'm sure Andy's
they
got
do,
a couple
yeah.
bullets in the satchel that he hasn't put into the chamber yet. But I just think he was maybe flying a little bit high, right? He's maybe regressing to the mean a little bit on the touchdowns because like you said, he had a couple of games where he had 3 or 4 touchdown games, and he had 12 touchdowns through the first halfway through the season. I don't know that. I mean, if anybody could do it, it would be him. But it's hard for a guy to have 20 or 25 touchdown catches in a season. So maybe it's a bit of rest. Maybe it's a bit of laying off the gas. Maybe it's like I said. Maybe it's a little bit of he's too hot, and they were paying too much attention to him, and so they're trying some different things in the red zone as far as getting other guys looks and trying to change it up to score some more touchdowns because it's been an issue. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, maybe it's getting other guys out on the field so there's more tape for the opponents to worry about. Maybe they know everything Travis Kelce can do because he's been doing it for so many years. I mean, they've just got a decade of film. But maybe it's okay. Well, now they got to think about what happens when Noah Gray and Jody Fortson are out there with Travis Kelce. Maybe they got to think about what happens with Isaiah Pacheco and Jerry. So I think that there's more to it than just rest. But I think that probably a driving factor is, hey, look, it's getting towards the end of the season, especially against a 1-win team. Maybe they didn't think they needed him as much, but I mean, he still had 10 catches for 104 yards. Yeah. So, it's not like he didn't see, the field for half of the game. So,
yeah, the TDs are coming. Let's talk about defense here.
Yeah, God.
It was another weird deal where they only gave up 200-something yards total offense. They
kind of saved the game.
Yeah, they did I mean, Frank Clark punches that ball out in overtime, and after we got stopped there, we won the coin toss in overtime. We get the ball in offense and get stopped, and now you're in sudden death. And Frank Clark, the shark, makes a big play, gets the ball back for us. They made plays. And I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass because what we talked about with the referees earlier, they had 3 or 4 stops on third down that got overturned with just suspect to awful calls by the referees that negated the stops. I mean, you keep getting stops on third down, the refs just keep throwing flags and giving them first downs. They're an NFL team. You're not going to stop them 10 times on third down in one drive or 5 times on third down in one drive. You've seen it before in Chargers and Raiders games where the Bengals game last year in the regular season is another good example of Chiefs get a stop on 3rd and goal, penalty. There's another fresh set of downs. Or they get a stop on 4th and goal, penalty. It's not a fresh set of first downs, but they get to replay the down. You're getting teams in like 7th and 8th and 9th and goal. They're going to get it in. And you stop a team twice on 3rd down in one drive and they still get a first down. It's going to be hard. So I give them a little bit of a pass, but there's still some things that are concern to me. That the youth in our secondary and our corners are a bit of a concern to me. Nick Bolton has been a little bit quiet these last handful of games. Maybe he's dealing with some injuries. He's a thumper. That dude is in there laying out Derrick Henry, stopping the run, playing up at the line of scrimmage. He could be fatigued. He could be, maybe dealing with some dings and nicks, but I mean, I give him a C+ to a B- grade performance overall in the defense. Bo, what did you see out of the defense Sunday? What maybe grade would you give them?
Probably something a little bit higher, like a B+, A-, man. Like you're kind of alluding to, you're not going to stop an offense on every drive by any means, especially with it just being such an offensive league. Everybody wants to see passes and yards, and they've adapted the rules to have those come easier. So I mean, being on defense is just a hard job in itself, and we stopped them 5, 6, 7 times, right? And had made them give us the ball back. And I guess we have the number 1 defense for batted passes in the league and everything. So it's so hard to expect perfection out of the defense in this league, even though I kind of do. But I thought they played pretty well, and like alluding to like them saving the game, you know what I mean? Like our offense kind of came out and sputtered in overtime, and luckily they came out, strip sack it, and were able to go from there. But I agree with you. I think our biggest weakness in defense is just the rookies in the secondary, man. Like they get exposed so bad, and like really good teams just really know how to like take advantage of that. That's my biggest worry of our defense. I'm really liking the front line. I'm liking what Dunlap's doing. I'm liking what Saunders is doing, Chanel and Karlaftis. I think you can like really see them improving game to game. I would like to see that same kind of improvement in the secondary though, but yeah, A-. I mean, they weren't perfect, but hey, I feel like they won the game for us, so I'll give them a little mark there.
Nick?
Well, shout out to 5'5" Frank Clark for probably the play of the game. I mean, he also got a low block, which I thought when you block guys low right there on the edge of the tackle box, that was supposed to be a penalty. I guess they didn't see that one. But He got knocked to the ground, got up, chased the quarterback that was scrambling down from behind, and knocked the ball out, right? So kudos to him. I do agree that our defense has been underperforming, though, and we can look at the referees and the flags from this past week. We can throw that game out, and we still have it as a concern, right? They're giving up the most passing touchdowns of anybody in the league. They've allowed the most touchdowns of anybody in the league, and some of this is probably because people are super aggressive when they play our offense. So, you know, they're throwing the kitchen sink. They're probably taking some risks with some passes maybe they don't throw in other games because there's that we got to score points. We got to score points against the Chiefs mentality. I don't know. I don't have any data to back it up if people are going for it more against us on fourth down, like especially in the red zone. But really, I think our red zone defense is really what's got to tighten up. We're just giving up too many touchdowns in the red zone. You know, there aren't like a ton of just blockbuster plays against the Chiefs that you see. There was the one against, you know, there was a perfectly timed screen pass on a blitz to that side against the Broncos. Against Joe Burrows and the Josh Allens of the world, I think you're going to have to give up a home run ball, a game. It's probably just going to happen because that's what those teams do, and they do it to everybody. But really, it's can we get them stopped on second down, third down inside the red zone and force them to kick field goals? And I think that if they can get that figured out, and it comes down to not only the secondary, but the pressure. So the secondary is only going to be able to guard those receivers for so long before somebody gets open. And yeah, we get a lot of sacks and we get a lot of batted passes, but we don't seem to be syncing those up with the key situations as much as maybe some of the other teams where, you look at the game that we lost against the Bengals, or you look at the game we lost against the Bills, and there were some key plays made on third downs by their defenses that stop drives that, were killers for us. So I think that that's really what we're lacking. I don't think the defense is super far off. I just think that they need to get a little bit more pressure, and then that takes the pressure off of some of these guys in the back end. So,
yeah, they definitely struggled to get to the quarterback there. I don't know if Frank Clark had the knockout there at the end, but there was a lot of plays where that Texans, the two quarterbacks they were playing, were just standing back there and had a lot of time. That's not helping those corners out, those young corners like you mentioned, Nick. So they've also given up the most touchdowns to the wide receiver position of any team in the NFL. The offense needs to stop turning the ball over, though. That's not helping.
That would help.
That's not helping. They're giving they're giving the defense short fields to have to defend. So I'm not trying to make excuses for the defense. I'm not trying to say the offense is the issue with the team. It's clearly the defense is the secondary unit. Chiefs offense is CBS Sports. If you have Twitter, go back to their Twitter. They go back to their Twitter feed. They had a graphic up where the Chiefs were first in basically every offensive key metric that you keep track of. Points per game, total touchdowns, third down conversion percentage, fourth down conversion percentage, yards per play. They just number one all the way down the list. So but maybe not turn the ball over. Maybe get, a couple of these drives turned into touchdowns instead of turnovers. You get a bigger lead, and now you're making the other team a little bit more one-dimensional, and they're having to draw back and pass, and you hear players say you got to earn the right to rush the passer, right? You got to get teams in drop-back mode. And so maybe a little bit more complimentary football from the offense there would help the defense. But, yeah, they need to step it up. We saw it against the Bengals game a couple weeks ago where they were absolutely unable to get to Joe Burrow. There was stretches in that game yesterday too where they just could not get to the Texans quarterbacks. They had all day back there to find the open man to throw the ball. Even if you're not getting sacks, pressure, right? Get the guy, make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Collapse the pocket a bit. You see the other team's quarterback just standing there way too comfortable in the pocket too often. But, again, they only gave up 200 yards of defense.
Yeah.
With 2 turnovers by the offense. And Bo, like you said, they came up with the game-winning play. McKinnon doesn't get the touchdown run if they don't get the ball back to the offense there. So I'm hopeful the defense can do just enough down the stretch here to not waste this year of offense and another year of amazing play by Patrick and Travis and company. But because it's not going to last forever. And, the Chiefs, they need to cash in. They need to take advantage, and the defense needs to do a little bit better job of getting stops. But, yeah, so like I said, I'd give them a B- or a B grade for that performance. Maybe a C+ a little bit too harsh now that I've listened to you and Bo talk about it. But anything else from this Texans game you want to talk about? You want to move on?
Yeah, let's talk about our special teams and our kickers because they kind of made some headlines this week in the Twitter sphere.
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling about Harrison Butker? We've kind of mentioned here before that we mentioned the Butker draw, right? Like none of his kicks seem to just be like darts. They always have a nice little draw to them or a little fade, regardless, right? How are you guys feeling about him? You guys think he's still hurt? Do you think we need to move on, find a different kicker or something? He seems to be pretty inconsistent as compared to years past.
Nick?
So the Nick that was watching the game live thought we should definitely get a new kicker next year.
Cut him.
After
in the heat of the moment.
I don't know if everybody that is watching is, up on Chiefs Twitter and all the stuff that goes on, but Dustin Colquitt came out in defense of Butker, the ex-Chiefs punter, and said, no, this is actually, I think a lot of this is on Tommy Townsend for his holding. And he showed, where he had the laces turned sideways. He said on that 51-yard field goal that he missed, Tommy Townsend, you see him, he shifts the ball right when, Butker's going to kick it. The team has kind of talked about it, and Dave Toub was like, well, like, he's not pointing out anything that, we wouldn't see, and kind of saying, we're working on it kind of deal. I don't know. I think it's a kicker issue. I mean, personally, I don't know. Maybe it's the holder, but I've also heard people that were kickers say, well, laces in, laces out. Like it's my job to get it through, and the hold's not going to be perfect every time, right? Like you're talking about the catching a snap, trying to get it placed on a specific spot, get it upright, get the laces turned out. And you have less than a second to do that. These people, they're not machines, so, but I don't know. I mean, I think that we need to see how he does for the rest of the year, and then they'll make a decision. If he doesn't get better, then we're going to have some changes, and if it's a holding issue, there's like a lot of other guys on the team that could maybe be a holder if Tommy Townsend it's not his strength. But yeah, I think that there's maybe more made about that than there should have been. So, yeah,
I think like with most things, there's probably a little bit of both to go around, a little bit of blame everywhere. I think the injury, I think he's still hurt a little bit from the high ankle sprain or whatever the injury was he got week 1 in Arizona. He said as much a few weeks ago that he's still dealing with a little bit of injury. Dave Toub said, he might not even get back to 100% this year. There's obviously Dustin Colquitt knows what he's doing. He was a punter and one of the best punters in the league for a decade or better.
Was he not a holder too?
Yeah, he was a holder. Yeah, so I mean, I definitely, when that guy talks, I listen. He's not some guy that was the punter and held for this team for a half a season 10 years ago and got replaced. So the guy was one of the longest tenured Chiefs. And so, yeah, when he talks, I'm going to listen. It was funny. Tommy Townsend got a little defensive about that comment on Twitter. Then when Harrison Butker got asked about it, they said, do you know why you're missing these kicks? He kind of gave like a grin. And I retweeted the link to the video where they asked him about it this week. And he's like, well, I don't know. I just know I got to do a better job. And he kind of grinned. And to me, that was almost like a little bit of a, yeah, it's really ain't all my fault, but I'm not going to throw my teammate under the bus grin and answer. So, yeah, I think he's still a little bit hurt. And I think that there is probably some issues with the holds. I mean, if you ever watch Ace Ventura, you know, laces got to be out, you know, when laces are in. And there's Dustin Colquitt put out photographic evidence of kicks where the laces are definitely pointing the sideline. I mean, they're not out. So I don't know. I just know it needs to get better because you can't depend on, like, you need to be able to depend on that guy to make these kicks coming down the stretch in these games and going into the playoffs. So whatever it is, they got to fix it. With his contract and the money and his track record and his history, he's going to get a little bit longer to get it right than I think a lot of guys would in his position, kickers. So
I think that position's just like a numbers game, though, right? As soon as like they fall off, they're like next man up kind of thing.
True. And you
There's not a
saw
lot of guys that can kick a 62-yard field goal like he can. So
right. You also saw what you get with the replacement guys that we brought in when he was out with the injury.
Yeah,
they were missing kicks too. So I definitely don't want to see the Chiefs.
Like, hey, we want Butker back.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see the Chiefs playing for the field goal coming down the stretch in games anymore like they did there at the end of that game Sunday.
Fascinating.
shit.
You got to go for it. You got to go for the touchdown. Until Butker gets a stretch of games here where he doesn't have a miss for 2 or 3 games, you got to operate under the assumption that you can't count on him to win you the game at the end. You got to try to get it in the end zone, or you definitely got to try to get it closer than 50-yarders. You saw that in the Houston game there at the end. It was like they got into Butker range, right? 50, 55-yard field goal range, and they kind of just ran up the middle for nothing and took their foot off the gas and ran him out there. If the guy's hurt and you're having holding issues and you're struggling, try to get him some 35-yarders instead of 55-yarders. Yeah. So some of that was on the coaching too. I'm going to put that on the head coach's shoulders there. Putting him in a bad spot if you're struggling, and especially if you're injured, putting you out there in a pressure situation to kick a 50-plus yarder is –
it's always just frustrating to me, dude, to have this offense, this quarterback, all these weapons, and then you're playing for a field goal with a minute left, right? And, like, we know what this guy could do with 13 seconds. Like, that's what you're playing for, the field goal with 13 seconds, not a minute. Like, go down there and do something. I don't know. Disappointing.
Disappointing for sure, but we'll see. As time's going to tell, he's either going to get it fixed or he's not. So
right.
I'm still leaning. I'm still Team Butker. I like the guy. I think he's earned a little bit more chance to get it right than maybe like your average kicker that hasn't been as good or as exceptional.
How are you feeling next time he's facing a 50-yard field goal, though?
I mean, I'm still nervous about it. I'm not saying I'm not nervous, but I'm not going to jump ship on him as quickly as I would with just a regular dude. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Right. Yeah.
You guys want to get into the poll now?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Before we get to this Seahawks game. So another close win against this is a 1-win team. We talked about them probably being a little bit better than maybe your average 1-win team. But that's 2 or 3 straight games of close nail-biter wins against teams that are not playoff teams, right? You look at the Broncos, They're not a playoff team. The Houston Texans, clearly not a playoff team. The Los Angeles Rams, defending Super Bowl champions. But with injuries and the way their season has gone and the quarterback they played against us, they're not a playoff team. I wanted to see how Chiefs Kingdom was feeling about the playoffs coming up here and the Chiefs' chances of making it back to the Super Bowl. So this week's poll, if you want to throw it up there. And Nick just had to go put the little graphic on there.
Sorry, Chiefsaholic.
You know, right?
If you know, you know.
He's getting in here.
One of the more bizarre stories of the season. Chiefs super fan, Chiefsaholic. Looks like he's an armed bank robber super fan. I don't know what you had the X Factor Red Extreme situation from earlier in the year. Now you got this guy. Chiefs super fans wilding out this year. No doubt about that. But it was a funny story. I don't want to get it too much into that, but that was a pretty funny little graphic. And, yeah, that was a wild story. I'm going to miss the guy a little bit on Twitter. He put some funny shit out there. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Shout out to the Bixby, Oklahoma police. They said they got him in 6 minutes.
Yeah, they got him. They nabbed him. So, yeah, you can't be running around pulling guns on people, stealing their money. But this week's poll, with all the close calls against bad or losing teams recently, where do you put the Chiefs' chances of making it to the Super Bowl? And it was a little bit closer than I thought. I didn't really expect to get very many votes for 0 to 25% chance. But a good way to look at this, where I was going with it, my mindset was, like, if you played out the rest of the season in the playoffs like 10 times, how many times do you think the Chiefs would make the Super Bowl? And Chiefs Kingdom, at least the 120 so folks that voted in this poll, giving the Chiefs less than a 50% chance. And maybe they're voting on it as 50% too. So a 50-50 chance or worse got the majority of the vote there, 51 to 75. That's pretty close. That's within 2 or 3% there. Maybe the Chiefs were up 27-0 on the Broncos. And it's just turnovers and officiating, it seems like, has really cost this team these last 3 or 4 games here, this stretch. They had the Bengals beat. They had the ball up for moving.
Yep.
And Travis Kelce fumbles. And they go down and get the lead. And then Butker, that's broken record at this point, like we just got done talking about. A missed field goal, a fumble, and a missed field goal in the fourth quarter against good competition. You're not going to win a lot of those games. So same situation with the Rams. They got a 3-and-out to start that game, and then promptly Sky Moore fumbles the punt, giving away possessions, putting the defense in bad spots, getting not on the right side of the calls. I was expecting Chiefs Kingdom, though, still to be a little bit more positive. And again, this is 120-something folks. I'm not going to put this all on like everybody, but I'd be interested to see where you guys think the Chiefs' chances are, where you would vote on this poll. Let's just go from top to bottom here. Nick?
I was in the 35% that voted 26 to 50. I think the turnovers are just killing this team. And we saw that the Bills game had the ball, chance to go win through a pick, right? We saw a fumble against the Bengals. We saw 3 picks against the Broncos, let them back in the game. We saw 2 fumbles last week. So until they show that they can eliminate these silly mistakes that cost them dearly in these games, I just don't think that this is a team that you can have, a 75 to 100% chance in thinking that they're going to go to the Super Bowl, just because you can get by with that against the Broncos and the Texans. You're not going to get by against these other teams that are really good at least very often. So and also thinking 25 to 50% or 26 to 50% chance to go to the Super Bowl, that's pretty fucking good odds, really. If you consider how good the AFC is, and then you got to get out of the AFC with all these just killer teams in it, So I don't know. I feel pretty solid in that. What do you think, Bo?
Yeah, man, I was in the 51 to 75. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I feel like I always am, though. I've just seen glimpses of what this offense can be, right? And when they're on fire, there's no stopping this offense. And then we have a better than worse defense. It's not like we're the defense we had last year. Our defense, middle of the pack, which I think should be able to carry our offense well enough. And to like the whole chat's points, like they're agreeing with you on the turnovers, man. They're just our points given up off of turnovers is just so unreal. Like every single time we lose the ball, the other team seems to score off of it in some fashion. So yeah, we clean that up. I think we can kind of control it. Like we control our own destiny, making it to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is always hard to get to, regardless. So I'd be more on like the 50% side than the 75% side of that. But they got a great chance, man. If things were to play out the way they are, we were going to go to the playoffs now as the 2 seed, and we're playing either the Chargers or the Dolphins, right? Like I'm liking those games better than having to play like the Bengals or something. Would love that 1 seed. I think that would definitely increase the percentage to get to the Super Bowl if we get that 1 seed. But I just think, yeah, like we've talked about it in this show. Like our secondary is just like that weakness right there. I don't know if that's going to be able to hold up against teams like the Bengals and the Bills and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I think they can do it still.
Right.
What about you, Scott? Where'd you line up in all this?
I'm right around that. I'm in that 51 to 75%. I feel like if you played this season out 10 times, Chiefs are going to make the Super Bowl at least 5 of those times, if not 6 or 7. They just, I've thought about it, and they've played these bad teams close. But you look at the top competition, the Bills, they're eking out wins every week against the Jets, which have a much better record than the Broncos and the Houston Texans. I get it, and I know the Lions are still alive for a playoff spot, but the Bills, they're not out crushing anybody right now. The Bengals were down 17-3 against the Buccaneers and then had 4 turnovers. The Bengals beat the Buccaneers, but they had 4 drives that started inside Tampa Bay's like 35-yard line. And so that, to me, they lost to the Browns this year. The Bengals have lost to some teams that are not good. So they're eminently beatable. The Bills, we've beaten them in the playoffs twice in the last year. And really, to me, it just comes down to like we got Patrick Mahomes, man.
Yeah.
And I just feel like you're going to be the favorite with that dude.
Right.
Almost every time. I look at the Bills, the way teams have ran the ball on them. Even if we have to go to Buffalo, let's get the Pacheco and McKinnon show going against that defense, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the Bengals, the Bengals, they got all the calls. They jumped out on us early, and we still had the ball late in the game, moving with a chance to put it away and make it a 2-score game. I don't anticipate Travis Kelce fumbling the ball with the game on the line in the playoffs. Do you guys?
No, that was pretty one-off.
And I just keep feeling like Patrick Mahomes threw 3 interceptions last week. Those were the turnovers last week. He's not going to do that again. I just feel the turnover thing is going to since Andy Reid has gotten here, the Chiefs have always been in the plus on the turnovers. So we're right in here. We're tied with the Bills for the best record in the AFC. They have the tiebreaker off of us, but that was a game we had won, you could say. I mean, we were up in the 4th quarter, and it's the Bills went down, scored. Mahomes got the ball, threw an interception that ended the game. I don't think you're going to see that happen again in the playoffs. Those teams are beatable. The Chiefs got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So, yeah, I'm still feeling better than a 50% chance. But I'm definitely not like I was towards the beginning of the year or when we were in the driver's seat for the 1 seed. You give the Chiefs the 1 seed, and I'm into that 75, 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely jumping up to the 75.
With the bye week and playing games at home, I don't see Patrick Mahomes losing to Joe Burrow in the playoffs at home. I think you see another over-my-dead-body game from that guy. And I think you see the veterans on this team step up, and I think you see the turnover thing get corrected, and this number 1 ranked offense go out and just get it done and outscore teams. And just tell the defense, look, man, don't give up 20 or less, and we're going to win these games. So I'm still feeling pretty good. The road, though, to the playoffs starts, or continues this week at home against the Seattle Seahawks.
Back home at Arrowhead.
Back home at Arrowhead. Former division rival, Seattle Seahawks. A lot of people forget that. This team's kind of got a history of some big games. Derek Thomas, single game sack record against the Seahawks. It's an interesting matchup.
It is.
It looks a lot tougher or more even than it did when the schedule came out back in August, or what? I think the schedule comes out a little bit earlier than August. But you look at the Seahawks and they got rid of Russell Wilson, and you think, okay, they're what a lot of people thought the Chiefs were going to be in a reloading, retooling, rebooting year with Geno Smith. The defense isn't what it used to be, and Geno Smith's playing at a Pro Bowl level. DK Metcalf kind of scares me a little bit against that secondary.
Right.
But Tyler Lockett's out. That's a huge loss for the Seahawks in this game. Chiefs are playing at home. How are we feeling about the game Sunday, Nick?
I'm feeling good. I went through, and you cool if I throw up just the keys real quick?
Yeah, definitely.
So this made me feel good about the game, right? So offensive points per game, the Chiefs are back in first with almost 30 points a game. The Seahawks, they're top 10 offense at 25.4 points per game. But if you look at their average over the last 3 or 4 weeks, that average is trending downward, right? Is where the Chiefs have really kind of steadily maintained that 30-point clip. So they've been averaging closer to 20 points a game for the last, 3 or 4 weeks. And they started out with, some 40-point performances, high 30s earlier in the season. So the defensive points per game, the Chiefs are right at about where they were. I don't think they moved last week at 23 points per game, which is 19th. And the Seahawks, though, they're 29th in the league, giving up over 25 points per game. And then you look at sacks, right? So the defensive sacks, the Chiefs are 4th, and the Seahawks are 15th with 35. The Chiefs are also like the 4th least sacked team in the league. So going up against an average pass rush, I just see, average pass rush, you see giving up a lot of points. I just think that Patrick Mahomes and these guys are going to eat this weekend. And that's where you see, this is the next stack. So offensive sacks, we're 4th and they're 22nd. The only thing that really scares me, right, is what I brought up is this turnover differential thing, right? Because the Chiefs are 30th in the league in turnover differential at -6. So
and they're tied for the best record in the toughest conference in football.
Yeah, definitely. But it's just if you were to say, okay, I want to give you any game and I'm not going to tell you anything about it except for one stat, and I want you to tell me who won. The stat that I would pick is like what were the turnovers, because that is one of the best determining factors in the outcome of the game. If you're negative in turnovers, you almost always lose. The Chiefs have been beating that because their offense is just so good. Otherwise, that they score a lot of points anyways, even though they've turned the ball over 21 times. But it's still a concern, so it's something to watch. And then last stat here, so loudest official Guinness home stadium reading, the Chiefs at 143.2.
Let's go.
Hawks at 136.6. For those of us that remember, they tried to come and steal our record, just like that ant that brings the thing that you always make to Christmas dinner. They tried to come and sneak it in, and then we said, "Oh, well, let's do it again." Scott, I believe you were at that game against it was the Patriots, wasn't it?
Which game's that?
Where we set the record, 142.
Or the loudest stadium?
No, I don't think so.
That wasn't the
I think
Tom Brady.
We said it originally,
Mm-hmm.
and then didn't Seahawks get it, and then we got it back, I think.
Yeah, but I thought that was that Tom Brady Monday night game. No,
I was thinking it was a game against the Raiders where it set the record. Maybe someone could look that up for us and find out
too
for
many,
sure.
too many dead brain cells. Sorry, guys.
The Seahawks got roofs over the. I mean, it's open over the field, but they have roofs over the seating area. So
Right.
it's not really an open air stadium.
I don't know if you guys have ever been to. I don't know. It was CenturyLink when I lived there. I don't know who sponsors it now. It's two amphitheaters just facing each other. So they got like this architectural like boost to get their decibel ratings up.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
but
we just do it with white trash and bank robbers, right?
There you go.
Exactly.
Do it the old-fashioned way.
Do the old-fashioned. Yeah, man. I look at that. I look at that defensive sacks thing, 4th in the league, and they can't get to Joe Burrow, which is fucking the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, man. It drives me insane, man.
Dude, it's weird watching them play the Bengals, and they just
it?
sputter out. But then they go to any other team and like immediately cause pressure, and they're in the quarterback's face. It's fascinating. Some of those teams just have that, I guess. Like they just they know how to get your number.
And I've often thought too, like about coming up with my own stat of like hollow sacks. It's like a sack you get on 1st or 2nd down that puts them in 1st or 2nd or 2nd or 3rd and long, but then you still give up the 1st down anyway. That's like a wasted sack or a hollow sack. I bet if you could find a way to calculate those, I bet the Chiefs have a lot of those.
Yeah.
Sacks should be drive killers, and it just doesn't seem like they are for us for whatever reason. Like we got how many sacks do we have against the Broncos? 6?
6 or 7?
5 or 6 sacks against the Broncos.
11
and yet
hits.
They were still getting 1st downs on 3rd and 10 and 3rd and long. Or how many times have you seen the Chiefs get a sack and make it 2nd and 19 and they give up 15 yards on the 2nd down and it's 3rd and 4? Like, well, you just wasted that sack. So, yeah, that's a little bit misleading, maybe a little bit frustrating. Not a little bit frustrating, a lot frustrating, especially when you figure you go against a team like the Bengals who give up more sacks and you can't sack them. So, yeah, Tom, I don't know what it is. When they need to figure it out, though, because I would tell you right now, if the Chiefs figure out how to get to Joe Burrow, they're going to beat the Bengals' ass. If they play okay, like it's going to be ugly. And there's going to be a lot of frustration taken out on the Bengals, and it's going to be an ugly game. If they figure out a way to get in there and get 2 or 3 or 4 sacks on Joe Burrow, that game's going to be ugly. And the Chiefs are going to win that by double digits. So, need to figure it out. Seahawks. Going to be cold.
What? How cold is it supposed to be on game day?
So, the forecasts have been creeping up slowly all week, though. To start the week, they were saying the high was going to be like 11 degrees with wind chill of like 20 below zero. Ooh. But I looked a little bit ago because I'm going to be at the game Saturday. So I've been keeping an eye on it. And I think the high is like 20 now with the wind chill down around 0. Nick, if you remember that Tennessee Titans AFC Championship game was like right around 17 or 18 degrees.
Yeah.
So that's doable. I think Big Duck might be at that game too. So
yeah, it was so cold at that game that like I was all excited and I had my phone out to do some stuff and it was so cold my phone battery like took a dump on me and I had like it showed instantly I had like 3% battery because it was too cold for the phone to operate. Yeah. That's how cold it was.
Yeah. So if you're going to the game, dress warm, but we need the stadium full. We need it rocking. So if you don't want to go in the cold, no judgment, no hate. Find
Scotty,
somebody
you be there, right?
That will go. I'm going to be there. So
the game's at noon, right? On Saturday?
Yeah, it's a noon game. It's supposed to be sunny. And again, like I said, the forecast has been creeping up all week. It's up to almost 20 degrees now. So I'm expecting it to be in the 20s.
You guys got your own game hype song from Tech 9, right? You did a hype song just for that one game. So you got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to be loud. It needs to be rocking. Need to make it harder on the Seahawks offense there. Arrowhead, don't disappoint, man. I've seen Bills Mafia out there in some really nasty weather at their stadium. Holy smokes, this year that team has played a couple of games in some nasty weather. That Dolphins game looked miserable.
Yeah,
out there.
You see the photos of all the snow in the stands, like what the fans were like sitting in and standing in and everything.
Right.
Oh, we've been there. I'd be nice off the seats.
I still think coldest game I ever been to was that Ravens playoff game.
Yeah.
Would that have been 2010, 2011?
I think so, yeah. It was 9
That was
degrees
the year they had
of
Matt
kickoff.
Castle and they won the division, right? It was 2010 season. So I think that's probably the coldest game I've been to. Maybe this will rival that, but dress up, be warm, but get out there and make noise. Don't let Chiefs Kingdom down on national television. We need to make it one. Yep. Thanks, John. I'm going to be out there. Look for me on TV. I'm going to be the guy shaking, freezing my ass off, shivering. But I'll be loud, I promise. I'll be making some noise. Ooh. Players, things to look at. I know we did keys to the kingdom already, but Seattle Seahawks. Are you worried about DK Metcalf?
I am. Like, I feel like that's been my major concern all season is just our secondary, right? And you get a beast like DK Metcalf going against some of these rookies. It's like trying to like you or I trying to guard a horse, dude. Could you imagine trying to like keep up with that guy or like be able to try to jump? I mean, he's like 6'4" or something like that. Like he's a phenomenal athlete. And then you have Geno Smith like coming out of nowhere this year, actually doing really well throwing to that guy. So yeah, I could actually see it being
looking
like
better than Russell Wilson.
Yeah, exactly right. So I can see this being like a kind of frustrating game in that sense. Just like, come on, let's cover that guy. But,
right. Nick, I know you said you felt pretty good about the game.
I do. I think we're gonna beat the brakes off their defense, and their offense is probably still gonna score in the high 20s, but it's not gonna matter because we're gonna be in the high 30s, low 40s. I just think it's gonna be one of those games where you're not gonna see a lot of punts, and you're just gonna see the Chiefs just burn through them like tissue paper. That's the way I feel about it. Of course, I also thought, disclaimer, I did think we were going to score 50 points last week. So you know,
me too.
You never know. But
yeah, I'll take a 45-27 win with DK Metcalf having about 160 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns because he's on my fantasy team. So
nobody cares about your fantasy team, Scott.
If I can have the best of both worlds,
yeah.
No, I always root for the Chiefs ahead of the fantasy team, but like
For
I said,
sure.
you can hope for the best of both worlds, man. He could, Metcalf hers. I don't know what, but if that's the only guy that can hurt you, like Nick said, you got to just score 45. And you're going to win because the Seattle defense is really bad. They are not good.
And Geno Smith has been sacked 37 times.
Right.
So he's not super nimble like he was, years ago.
Yeah.
So I just think we're going to get. I think we're going to force some turnovers. I think it's going to be a good game for us.
Who's their running back right now? Do you guys know?
Well, they had Kenneth Walker, but I think he's out. I think he's still hurt. So, DJ Dallas and Travis Homer, right? Those are the backups.
Dude, I don't know why I can't think of any of
God
them.
bless you, Scott. And I have no idea.
Yeah. So they're just Tyler Lockett, like I said, is out. That is huge. That's a big loss for them. And that dude is good, man. K-State Wildcat. He's a good player. So
we can get McDuffie over there on DK Metcalf.
Yeah, that's what they're going to have to do.
He's second best in the league this year at separation, not allowing separation. It's like Sauce Gardner is number 1 and Trent McDuffie's number 2.
Yeah.
So shout out to our rookie. He's doing a good job when he's out there. He's had a couple of rookie mistakes I think that have happened this year, but overall it looks like a solid pick for us.
Welcome to the NFL, right? Get out there, man. Guard him. That's DK Metcalf, bro. That's your job.
Yeah. Joe Valerio told us about his welcome to the NFL moments, right? Oh, all of a sudden you're up against Howie Long and you're getting your ass beat.
Yeah. McDuffie did pretty good against Chase in that Bengals game. So I got faith. He can do it. Just don't lock him down too much.
Thanks, John C. It is Walker, Dallas, and Jones there, and Horner.
Yeah.
There we go.
Homer and DJ Dallas. Kenneth Walker dodging a bullet by having that guy out. He's been a beast this year at running back. since they kind of gave him the starting job there as the season progressed. So you guys want to do some predictions on this game and get out of here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What you got, Bo?
I was liking what Nick was saying. Like, I imagine they're going to put up some points on us. They got some pretty good guys, but we're going to just put up more. I'm in favor of the spread that Vegas has right now, a little 10-point lead. So I'm just going to say 30-20, sticking with our average points per game and kind of theirs. So that's going to be my prediction this year. How about you?
No worries, John.
Yeah, no worries, John V.
John's taking care of those customers. Just don't be yelling about the 49ers scaring away your business, John.
There's no game on.
And don't be putting
I think he's good.
Don't be putting your foot through any ovens either while you're there at the restaurant, John. You got to take care of those customers. So, and you just missed us talking about your favorite player, Jerick McKinnon, old tire legs. Anyway, John, so you didn't miss much. But yeah, I'm going to go real quick too, Bo. Who's your player of the game? Who has a big game this week?
Ooh, who's going to have a big game? Let's say Kadarius Toney. It's good to see him back last week. I can see him jumping in on a few more snaps and making a little difference here. I'm going to hope for a solid return on that guy's part.
Nick?
I'm going to go Chiefs 38-27. How about that?
11-point win, picking them to cover.
Picking them to cover. They haven't done it a lot this year, so I'm Tom's also said I don't trust them to cover a 10-point spread, but
I think the Chiefs are like 2-8 covering a spread or something.
That has not been good.
Yeah. Well, nobody ever said I was smart, so
Tom's kind of poaching my pick there in the comments.
Oh yeah.
Big game if Hardman comes back. He was balling. He was playing really well before he got hurt. So
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I'm going. John V got back just in time to hear me pick the Chiefs score over 30 points again. So I'm going 33-20. Chiefs.
Bam.
33-20. And I think Jerick McKinnon has another big game on offense. He's been balling.
5-9.
The guy's been producing. He's getting his opportunity, and he's taking advantage of it. And you go with the hot hand until it's not hot anymore, right? Isn't that the old saying? I mean, you stick with the hot hand, right?
Yeah. I didn't pick a player of the game. I'm gonna go Isaiah Pacheco because I texted you guys before the show, dude. Like, I want none of trying to tackle Isaiah Pacheco on a normal day when it's 72 and sunny, and I definitely don't want to tackle him when it's like a wind chill of negative whatever degrees. So I think he's just gonna be bruising these guys, and they're not a good defense to start. So I'm gonna go Pacheco.
Yeah. Looks like Tom, Chiefs are 5-9 against the spread this year. That's better than I thought it would be, honestly. It's not good.
Way better than I thought it was, but still
Not
on the
good, but
under of 500 there.
Better. John V's in here. He's got his 27-17. I'm starting to think there's like a bot that's taking over John's account. He's 27-17 every week. Yeah, John V likes Pacheco. Seen a couple other people throwing their scores up here in the comments. She's feeling pretty comfortable or feeling pretty confident about a win anyway. Chiefs are they're in must-win mode right now. So
yeah,
we were hopeful. We talked about the playoff picture last week. Actually, had a video that I think that sucker had about 600 something views.
Yep.
If you missed that, go back and check it out. It was a good one. We were talking breaking down the playoff picture. I was really expecting the Bills to lose one of these games against the Jets or the Dolphins, and they didn't. So now I'm looking at the Bills thinking it's going to have to be the Bengals that do the work for us there.
Right.
There's only 3 games left, so I'm less confident than I was about the Chiefs getting the 1 seed. But I'm still fairly confident. I'm probably about 50-50 right now. I think the way the Bills have struggled against teams, I think the Bengals can do some things offensively against them in that defense. So need them to do that work, though. But if Chiefs get the second seed, we remember what happened in 2019 as the second seed. You get in there, and the one gets knocked off, and you win your wild card game, and next thing you know, you're hosting playoff games at home still. So anything can happen. Got 3 games left in the season here. One against the Seattle Seahawks, and then another one coming up. We got the Broncos at home, and then go on the road for the Raiders. So it's going to be interesting. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah, just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Hope it's a good holiday. Hope everybody's safe. Hope Santa brings you everything that you wanted. And we really appreciate the support. And it's a lot of fun for us to do this with you guys. So thank you and Merry Christmas.
Yep. Likewise, Merry Christmas. Thanks to everybody in the chat for participating. You guys rock. I love the chat. It's so fun to read your guys' comments and interact with you guys. Love it. Thank you guys for the support too.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We got race cars in here. How about the Vikings, Vic? Yeah, Vikings.
Dude, how about that game, huh?
Biggest comeback in NFL history. I don't know.
Thank God it wasn't against the Chiefs.
Thank God it wasn't against the Chiefs.
Race
car. I was looking at the home and away opponents for next season already. Chiefs at Vikings in Minnesota next year. That's looking like a trip. Maybe you have to get up there and check that game out in that fancy palace they play football in up there indoors. I kind of wish the Chiefs were playing indoors this weekend.
Fun.
Right. Making history. Yeah. Chiefs Vikings Super Bowl rematch of Super Bowl 4.
Yeah.
We got some good options coming up here. We could have the Kelsey Bowl, Travis versus Jason Kelsey. Chiefs Eagles. Andy faces his old team. We could be looking at a rematch of Super Bowl LIV against the 49ers. There's some interesting options out there. And we're in the home stretch, man. This is 3 games left, and the playoffs are going to be here before we know it. So
already, this season went by fast.
Right. I echo the comments of everybody. I'm so thankful and grateful for all the friends that we're making and everybody that watches this show and likes our videos and supports us and follows us on Twitter and subscribes. It's I have a lot of fun doing this, and so I really can't express enough how grateful I am and the amount of gratitude I have for each and every one of you that comes and joins us and talks Chiefs. We got fans of Vikings, and John V's a Niners fan, and we traumatize him in the Super Bowl. He still jumps in here. We got Brenda and John C. and Tom and just everybody. Carol, Laney, Big Doug. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you click like. Make sure you click subscribe. We are on another giveaway that we're working on. We got a little ways to go on this one. So we're trying to get to 2,500 Twitter followers. We're almost to 1,900 right now. And we just got to 200 subs. And we're trying to get to 250 subs on YouTube. And once we get there, we're going to come up with another giveaway. So click like, click subscribe, go follow us on social media, tell your friends, share the links to the show. We'd really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. Merry Christmas, everybody. And until next time, let's go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.